Dory, could you do the roll call, Aaron?
Mehring.
Yep.
Dashlet.
Here.
Boer.
Here.
Lautenbach.
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes.
Meverden.
Here.
Pavitt.
Here.
Kevin Schmidt will not be here today.
Okay. The meeting is in compliance with the open meeting law. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Motion by Pavitt,
Static.
second by Dashlet. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as submitted. The approval of the meeting minutes to the February 20th. Can we get that approval?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, okay, did you get the motion and second?
Motion by Swedberg, second by Boer.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the meeting minutes are approved. Consideration of bills and conference attendance. Did everybody get a chance to look at them? Are there any questions about any of the bills that were submitted?
I have one, Aaron.
Sure.
This morning we had discussions about REL's bill.
Yep.
But there's no REL bill on this month. Is there a reason for that?
Those bills that you saw this morning for Public Works were a combination of council and then up until this last point. So that REL bill that you saw was actually on the last council for March. So I pulled the bills from the last time Public Works had a meeting to
Okay.
the current date. So that REL bill was paid with the March, council.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Aaron, do you want a roll call on the bills?
I need a motion in a second.
Okay, good.
I will make a formal motion to approve the bills as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, and then would you do a roll call on payment of the bills?
Meverden.
Yes.
Dashlet.
Yes.
Mehring.
Yes.
Lautenbach.
Yes.
Boer.
Yes.
Pavitt.
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes. Okay, that passes. Next item, public comment. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address the council? Anyone from the audience? Okay. Then we're gonna move on. Is there any old business that needs to come forward? Matt? Nothing? Okay, then new business. The retirement announcements. So you wanna take that over?
I'm gonna actually take it over, but I'm gonna turn it over to the police chief.
Okay.
He's over there.
Thanks, Matt. So, so I think I sent my letter out to everybody, and I just want to let everybody know in person that I've decided to go into retirement. Was just not one particular thing. It's just I turned 53 on Friday, so I'm gonna not say I'm that old. No, only I'm a lot younger than you, but law enforcement is a young man's game. I did get promoted. It is 53. That's old for me.
Long time ago.
I was trying to remember back when that was. Anyway, I got promoted in the National Guard, and they want me to do more time. And there was a nice bump in pay for that. And of course, looking to spending some time with the family. And I promised my family when I left my last job that I would not get all focused on purely the job, and that I would spend time with that. So I promised my family and my wife and kids I want to do that. So I need to kind of focus with my family and my kids since I have one left still in the house. The other two moved out. So just looking at the numbers, I don't need to work, which is, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, I'm in a position that way. I love Algoma. I still say Algoma is a diamond in the rough, and I'll try to set you guys up. I'm not leaving like in 2 weeks. I'll be here for several more months till the summertime. And if that needs to change to help the city out, I'm willing to do that. Because like I said, I like Algoma. It's just time for me to retire, to kind of go off into the sunset. Not moving, not going anywhere. There's a bunch of rumors going around everywhere. Like I got a job in D.C. Nope, I'm still a resident of Wisconsin. I'll still live here. You still see me around. I'm just gonna kind of hang up my gun belt for a while and see who I can help you bring in to replace me, and of course hire some more younger officers before I leave. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Consider you most of you guys my friends. If you ever need anything, I'm still here. Give me a call. I'll still come by, and I'll still be around for a couple more months. So I'm not like quite out the back. I'm not at the door just yet. That's all I got.
Well, on behalf of the council and the PPP, I want to say thank you and everything that you've done so far thus far since taking over the police department. You've done a heck of a job, and appreciate everything that you've done, and also moving forward, helping us, maintain and keep the police department above water while you're still here. So thanks, Randy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
And just so everybody does know, I think, if Randy sent everybody, I know the clerk sent everybody a letter, so everybody should have formally got that. Randy will be here till June 5th, and we'll have discussions, after that. And just because he had mentioned that he'll be here till summertime, and hopefully June 5th is summertime.
I hope so.
Here in
This winter never ends.
So, but thank you, Randy.
Okay, then moving on to the next item, the staffing and next steps.
Yeah, so just a couple of things that I want to touch base with Randy leaving. Tanner Carmen, our newest officer, has also gave his letter of resignation. His last day was actually Sunday on the department. His physical last day on paper, I think, is Wednesday, but his last working day on the schedule was Sunday, and now he's on his 3 days off. But he was hired by the village of Saukville, and so his last day was Sunday here. So how we, transition, and we're gonna talk about this later down the agenda, but myself and Aaron sat down last week with the county, and what kind of coverage can they give us, how can they help us out, what can they do in the meantime, and there are some things that they are willing to help us out with. There's some shifts that they're willing that they will try to fit into their schedule to cover. One of the things that they are not interested in is going back to anything contractual. That is a conversation that we had with them. What are they, where are your feelings? Where do they line up? They're obviously having the same staffing issues that we're having. Trying to find employees. They're looking for more employees with this jail that they have, trying to find people in dispatch. At this time, the county does not want to do anything contractually. They are willing to mend or bridge, where they can help us out. The last thing they want is open shifts. One of the parts of the conversation, and me and the chief have been in conversation all the way back to August, is, how can we do this? An open shift, that's the last thing that the county wants to see, because then they're left covering it down as well. So with that being said, they are willing to come and help cover some shifts. So, but we'll continue those conversations here as we move forward. That's all I have at this time on that.
And moving on to the capital fund discussion.
I'm gonna turn it over. Amber is here. I think everybody has some paperwork in their, I'm sorry, not printed out, but on their computers, possibly printed out.
It's the pretty blue and pink sheets that you have.
The big
Yep,
one, yep,
that
the big one.
So with the couple of bids that we had come in this year, we've kind of been hit pretty heavy with some extra costs that we weren't anticipating. The dredging project came in about $117,000 more than we had expected. We had the playground. Casey did a really good job finding some money to cover the extra costs for that. But then that coupled with the dredging, and then we also have the street project that is going out to bid. And I think those bids are coming back pretty quick here, aren't they, in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, about 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
And what
So-
street, what streets?
Divisions.
Division. What they are doing for the Division Street project is they are bidding out both 23 and 24's portion all at once, trying to entice more contractors, and hopefully we get a better price on it. We'll see what it comes in at. But, so all these changes kind of came to light, and then as we were talking over this, it was mentioned that the 1.5-ton pickup truck that was ordered last year hasn't been paid for yet. So we have that expense to cover. And then there's the squad car that's already been authorized but hasn't been paid for yet. And a lawnmower that's been ordered, and I think we might have it now? It's in, we gotta go pick it up, but it also hasn't been paid for. So there are all these extra things that are still coming out of the capital borrowings. So we started looking at it and we're like, oh boy, we got some issues here. So the original plan when we borrowed 3 million was to try and make it last 3 years. We are not gonna be able to do that. There's no way we can extend all 3 million and still cover all these projects, especially with the inflation going on. So we had a few things, we kind of went through, and Casey was really instrumental in helping me go through all these numbers, and we've got an extra 20 grand in for the City Hall capital equipment building repairs. We had budgeted 95. I think we only need 75. I'm not even sure we're gonna need that full 75, but we're gonna replace the carpet in the hallways that had been put off for a couple of years already. And then we reserved some money for boiler repairs, because our boiler has been having issues every year now. And then the outside of the building needs some painting and some stucco repairs. So depending on what happens with the boiler, we may or may not do those building repairs. But we felt confident that we could drop that back to 75 instead of 95. We had also budgeted $20,000 to soundproof the recording booth, and that would just kind of help with when there's conversations going on back there so that we're not interrupting meetings. It's not something that needs to be done. It would be ideal and wonderful if we could do it, but it can be delayed. It's not a hurry. There was a truck that was budgeted to be replaced this year in the street department at $40,000. Casey says we can easily delay that purchase. It's not gonna hurt us to push it off down the road a little bit. And then I talked to the engineers about our street project estimates, thinking he was gonna tell me I have to bump that number up, and he thinks that I can take 250 off of it. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out when the bids come in. And then Casey and the guys are going to build the docking systems instead of having it all outsourced, which was the original plan, so that'll save another 49,000.
That's on the transit dock.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So with those changes, that left us some loan balance left. We did have a request for some Anape trailhead work funding of $5,000. That will take that down to about 316, 460, 27 remaining in the loan money. So then I plugged in what we're currently anticipating for 2024. This will be on the second page in your packets. With all of that money, we will be out of the loan dollars. Now, we extended it into 3 years. We just couldn't cover all 3 years of the costs. So that's a good thing. We got 2.5 years worth of projects out of that 3 million. So looking at how could we fund these other things? Well, those ARPA funds that we got in 2021 and 2022, we got a total of $319,000. They gave us our first half in 21. They paid the second half in 22. Under the ARPA rules, we have to obligate that money by December 31st of 24 and expend it by December 31st of 2026. Throughout this whole process, they have changed the rules on what you can spend it on and how to report it all. One of the things that they said at the very beginning is you absolutely cannot use it on roads. Well, most municipalities are sitting on it with nothing to spend it on, so they came through and said, okay, we're gonna give you a standard deduction of $10 million. You can use your ARPA funds up to that 10 million. We don't have anywhere near that, we got 319, on any of the following. And one of the things they said under general government is construction of roads or purchasing of fire and police vehicles. So our proposal is to obligate all $319,000 of that ARPA money for road projects and police and fire vehicles. And we'll move it into...
Rather than applying it against 605?
We can apply it to, we could apply it all to 605. My problem with that is I don't think fire chief wants to order that new engine until we have the new station. So if we don't have the new station next year.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's an
Right,
ambulance
so
that we have.
No,
then we're
that's
a year
24,
or so
yeah.
beyond that.
Yes,
Yeah.
the ambulance has been ordered, but the ambulance has also been paid for.
Yeah.
All right.
So that, I mean, if we order the fire truck next year, because we've got the new building started, then yeah, we can put it all towards that. Regardless, it's going into the capital funds to help offset these costs. So We use it all for fire truck, then we use more loan dollars for street. We use it all for streets, we use more loan dollars for the fire truck. It'll all be covered,
Okay.
okay? The next thing we looked at is the med center closeout funds. So we're working with the auditors to fine tune what that ending dollar is gonna be. After the real estate agent was paid and the dollars for the leave time that got transferred over for all those employees, we had a little over $1.3 million that came to us in a check for that sale. My proposal, and I did talk this through with the auditors, is that council authorize us to deposit the full amount that's remaining. Right now, we're estimating 1.35 million into the capital projects fund. If in the end we don't need all of that money, the council can easily move it back out. I want to put it in capital projects because if we receipt it into the general fund and then I transfer it out to capital, it counts against our annual expenditures and we will lose our expenditure restraint payment from the state, which is roughly 70 grand, okay? And then the last piece that we're going to try and, or that we're going to do to fix our funding issue here is this council, years ago now, because this policy was in place before I started, put a policy in place for our fund balance and said that any excess fund balance will be moved over to pay for capital project needs. So I'm estimating that we're going to have about $1 million in fund balance reserves that we can move. Where did that million come from? Because that's a big number. We had about $500,000 in interfund loan out to the Med Center that has now been repaid. And to help boost our Moody's rating, we had reserved an amount equal to what they owed us. So if they never paid us back, we had that money there. So it's $1 million right there. Now that they paid it back, we don't have to sit on that money anymore. We can move it all over to capital. That expenditure restraint program is going to play a role into how fast I can move that money over and where our budget ends up at the end of the year. So,
And but that leaves a zero balance on the,
Is that gonna have a negative effect on our
on
credit?
Moody's.
no,
If you
Nope.
strip that out
Nope.
of our contingency reserve,
it will not, because we still have we will maintain 35% of our annual expenditures as reserve balance.
We wouldn't strip it to zero.
No. So our annual expenditures are right around $4 million. Right now, it's sitting in reserves. I have a little over $3 million. So I'm sitting on way more than we need,
okay, so.
way more.
All right. So all you're proposing is moving $1 million
Yep.
just to get through the 3 years.
I'm proposing to move that $1 million and leave it there. We won't ever repay it. We're just gonna use it for capital, which is what your fund balance policy says we will do.
We're gonna go from having 75% reserves down to about 50-ish?
A little less than 50, yeah.
45,
Yeah.
45,
And Moody's
50.
doesn't- that
We have to have
isn't
35.
Oh, yeah, that is more than enough for Moody's. Yep. And there is actually state law that says you can't have an excess fund balance. You can hold up to a certain amount, but we can't say we're gonna hold a $5 million fund balance and our annual expenditures are only $4 million. That's not allowed. So. Excuse me.
I got a real quick question regarding that one truck, Amber. So the Public Works truck, 10.5, we ordered it in 22 but didn't pay for it. Did
Yes.
that get missed, or don't we typically
I-
try paying for those in the same fiscal year?
We
We-
typically try, yes.
We could not pay for it in the same fiscal year because of the time when we ordered that truck. It's gonna be 2 years out. I tried to make payment. They won't at this point, until they have a build date for that truck, even let us pay for the stuff that's getting put on it.
Is it, so it must be different than other utility type vehicles, truck, ambulance, etc.?
Well,
Because those are paid for.
correct, like the ambulance, that was still, this is your build date, right? Today, yet we still don't know when we're getting our ambulance.
But it's paid for.
It is, the ambulance is
So
paid
this
for.
truck,
The ambulance is the only thing that has been ordered and paid for but
Correct.
not received. All of the other equipment that we ordered
okay.
has not been paid for.
How come we didn't reserve? Usually when we vote on something, we have the money somewhere.
Yep.
Why didn't we reserve this money for
We-
this truck?
So it was reserved in the last year's budget.
it was in the 2022's capital outlay. It didn't get moved into the
But
2023.
now it sounds like it's a surprise to us, oh, we didn't pay for a truck.
Not a surprise, just a, oh crap, all these other extra expenditures, and we still have to pay for this other stuff. So if, without doing anything, we would cover 2 years of projects and we'd be fine. But we still have next year's projects. So what we're trying to do is figure out how do we pay for next year's projects without going to the bond
Getting another
market
loan.
and doing another
Yep.
loan, yeah.
Casey, like real quick on the 49K for the docks and stuff, did we not plan on doing?
We did, we changed it, we actually had budgeted 150,000 or something like that, 140 something.
Yeah.
And we, basically, most of that work's already done, and I cut it back from that much to that's how much we're gonna need. So it's basically done already, so what is left there is just excess that was called over budgeted, just because we didn't know what was gonna exactly happen.
We realized the savings by them doing it
Yeah.
in-house, so we saved $49,000 on that project.
Building the docks?
Yep.
Putting
So
the-
that's with ordering the new launch ramps, those we're not building, we're building some of it, but basically it's a kit that they're giving us. And then resurfacing the river docks, that's all included in that, so that's literally about all we can do down there, shy of replacing the river docks, which,
I'm trying to remember, did we do that on the first section?
Mhm.
I mean, we did a lot of the labor.
Both sections.
That-
We did.
everything
We
as
did
far
it
as
with
docks
A&B
now
dock,
have
A
new
and
surf,
B.
they're either completely brand new or they're all redecked, where the iron is good enough that we just redecked them.
A and B we built, basically we ordered the frames, the lumber, and all that, and we put them together, which was still a pretty substantial bill. On the river docks, so we
This
didn't
is
change the
different,
frame.
this is river.
This is different, this is a river docks.
Okay, alright.
And a few other upgrades at the marina.
Okay.
Did we have to do anything with the floats?
We did not. The river docks, only about a third of that sits on floats. The other stuff is rigid mounted. And the fuel dock, all the floats, everything was okay. The framework was good. We just refaced them.
Even better.
So we're recommending,
So our request tonight is for the Finance and Personnel Committee to recommend to council to approve obligation of the ARPA funds and approve depositing any leftover funds from the Med Center into the capital projects.
Now, are you absolutely positively certain that ARPA, it's the federal government, they could change
I-
their mind tomorrow?
Yeah. I was not 100% confident that we could do this until we started looking through the documentation this past week and found yet another document put out by the IRS, or not, the Treasury. And it is the summary document of their final ruling.
And it says final ruling?
It does say final ruling. So, and in that document, it actually, in fact, this little box here in the middle with the general government administrative staff and administrative facilities, that is actually taken out of that document word for word.
so kind of an off-topic subject here, but if that's the final ruling, do the townships also have the capability of using leftover ARPA funds that they have available to put towards any type of administration facility?
Yes, they would.
They would.
Okay.
Yes, they now do in the final rule.
All right.
The years are just a working.
And toward 605?
That would be the hope.
Huh?
I said, don't put the cart before the horse.
Oh, well, okay.
Getting way too excited here. Calm down.
Oh, well, I guess I tried.
Let's stay in the stable.
I kind of don't want to ask this on.
I
Chew on your
tried.
hay for a while.
Have we thought about possibly, in lieu of putting the 319 of ARPA funds into the general, putting it
Put it in the general.
into the capital?
Okay.
In lieu of that, instead of transferring $1 million or an estimated $1 million over, why not make that 1.3 and have that additional, well, timing is an issue, I'm assuming? Do you understand where, yeah, okay.
you
Was it
gotta
thought about?
spend, you gotta spend it, so.
I'm not sure.
It'd be easier if you
Could we
articulate.
use our, beat around the bush, could we use the ARPA funds that we have, could we use the 320 grand to put towards a public safety building?
Buildings were part of it, correct?
I don't think so. It specifically says construction of schools and hospitals.
Doesn't,
Administration
But-
facilities?
We've got, it goes in here to pay for the road, the fire truck, the police vehicle, which then frees up other funds. So if you look at the very bottom there, I'm anticipating we'll have about 643 remaining at the end of 2024, if the road project comes in at the engineer's estimate.
I guess the
So,
question that I had is.
We could, yes, then have $300,000 left over to put towards the public safety building.
Well, it's a shell game, is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm asking whether or not we should take the 320 and, we can't directly put it towards something we don't know of yet, but
We
instead
put
of-
it towards the
instead of
road and free up loan
excess
dollars to use
fund
for,
transfer of $1 million, do you do 1.3 out of there since we have 3 million and we're still at that 47-45% threshold?
well, the 320 million, or I wish it was $320,000 is being held in a separate ARPA fund, a special revenue fund for that. So it's coming from a
You're
different.
the treasurer. Is this the cleanest way to do it?
Yes,
What I'm trying to, okay.
yes. Either way, you still have your money to use for the public safety.
If I could try to word this correctly, did you have the motion?
I had it all written out and I forgot it.
Uh,
All we're doing is asking for a motion to recommend to council to authorize use of the ARPA funds
The
and Med Center funds.
ARPA and the excess, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll make a formal motion to move up to council to allocate the ARPA funds to capital projects for government services, and then also whatever sale proceeds are remaining left from the medical center closeout funds.
When does, is that closed now? Are we done?
No,
No,
the
we're in the
auditors are
audit,
currently
yeah.
working on
Audit.
it.
All right,
I'm guessing May, Jake.
Let's get our second and then go
May?
into discussion.
okay.
Okay,
All
well, we
right.
have a
Yeah,
motion,
I'll
is
give
there
a
a
second.
second from somebody?
Okay. Now you can go into discussion.
I'll give a second.
Alright, so I have a motion by Meverden and a second by Mering to approve the obligation of ARPA funds into the capital fund. And then also to move the excess med center funds to
Capital.
Whatever, yeah.
capital. And this is just a recommendation to council.
Okay,
Do a roll call.
now we can, huh? All right, now, when is this gonna close?
So we have to have the year-end numbers ready for the state report by beginning of May. I have a feeling it's probably gonna take us just a little bit longer to finalize the transactions and everything we can move, but I'm thinking we should be done by the end of May. Unless the auditors come back and tell me we have to file for an extension with the state because it's taken too long for them to figure it all out.
Do you see those numbers changing precipitously?
Not by large amounts. There's a very good possibility it'll change a little bit. And possibly to the good. I don't see it going down.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second, are we
One
need a
second.
roll call?
Does your motion, because you had said that the medical center funds, is that including the 1.5 and the 1 million?
The 1
No,
million
it's a
we
million
don't
separate?
need
We
because
don't need
that's
any?
already a
Oh, it's
policy in
already-
place.
Okay,
Yep.
my apologies, thank you.
That's okay.
Estimated 320,000, or, yeah, 320,000 and
Yep.
1.35, I mean, those two numbers.
Yep.
Thanks, Scotty.
So with motion saying, are we ready for the roll call?
Is there any other discussion?
questions?
Questions? Nope, okay, roll call. Havoc,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Mering,
Yes.
Lautenbach,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Okay, next item is the grant application request for NP Trail improvement.
John, would you like to start with this, or would you like me to?
Why don't you go ahead, you know, I think our activity is all kind of done here, tonight's coming in.
Sure. everybody has I think on their computer, a packet. This was brought to the city by the Anape State Trails Friends group to put a trailhead. Does everybody have this on their computers or on paper? Okay. And there's kind of a sketch, I believe, on here to put like a park-like area that would have some picnic tables, some benches. I think the neatest part of the concept is a place to fix your bike. They make these bike changing. I think there's a picture of it in here, I do believe. Yes, there is. The red, it looks like it's got a bunch of little strings hanging off of it. Those are actually like wrenches and different tools to be able to fix your bike. An air pump and kind of an area to have at our trailhead here at the city of Algoma for the people that use our trail. There was a budget put together from different people, different communities that are all putting money towards this, and an expense. The total would be about $16,442 to put this whole project together. The city would be putting $5,000 towards making this a reality. That it would not be, once this was complete, it would not be a city park or a city, if there would be trash receptacles. It would not be the city's responsibility to maintain or empty the trash or anything like that. That would be taken care of by the Friends group that would maintain it once it was completely built. They're looking to, I think they did a fantastic job of very low maintenance, everything to it. Concrete picnic tables, benches, things that would be done on the site, except minus vandalism, hopefully that you never have to worry about. Everything is very simple to be maintained besides emptying the garbage cans.
If I can.
Go ahead, John.
Kind of talk a little bit about the trails of the Anape State Trail is actually owned by the DNR. It is maintained by Kewaunee County Parks and Recreation. And the friends groups from both Door County and Kewaunee County are also there to update, produce the maps for the trail, improve the amenities on the trail itself. And it does attract an awful lot of hikers, bikers, birders, snowmobile folks, and we are moving the principal trailhead for the Algoma area into Algoma proper, right next to CTI, and that's looking at the potential for bringing more folks into Algoma to recharge for their next leg on the trail. Hopefully to engage more with Algoma and look at our connector routes for the Ice Age Trail. So for folks who do those silent sports, it would be worthwhile. And once done, it's there. It's residing right here in Algoma, and the benefit to the city.
Very nice.
So that's right in between CTI and the boat club?
What's that?
Yes.
Between CTI and the boat club as you're taking the left out?
Yep.
No, who did the prelim drawing on the grid paper? Is that you?
No, that was done by someone else.
Well, looks nice. I'll make a motion to approve.
Where's the funding for this coming from?
I actually have it coming out of the capital projects fund. So it would come from our interfund transfers.
Yeah,
and-
it's right in here.
Yeah, it's actually listed on.
Yeah.
Those handouts.
Okay, we have a motion. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay, you wanna do a roll call on that money spent too?
Sure. Dashlet,
Yes.
Havoc,
Abstain.
Boer,
Yes.
Mehring,
Yes.
Lautenbach,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay, that motion passes. Okay, then we're on to the marine dredging.
So, can I just back up on that? Just one thing that might be a little bit different, kind of going from here on out, is that anytime a CDC grant request gets approved now, it is likely gonna come to the Finance and Personnel Committee for just final approval before we cut the check, just so you guys are aware.
Okay.
Okay, then, the dredging update. Casey doing it?
So we had postponed our dredging, we didn't have to, but we chose to postpone our dredging. The DNR required us to do some testing, and those all came back okay, but we elected to do some additional testing for things foreseeable in the future. One being PFAS, and that was found in some areas, so for right now, we're working with the DNR on what our next steps are. Matt's back if I miss anything, but we're going to DNR and engineer what our next steps are on our best practice, what's going to work out best for the city and all parties involved. Instead of doing it and rushing through it to get done, we went and we measured our depths. There's one troubled corner where we just won't be able to put a decent sized boat, I'll say. And we actually gained some water since last year in there, which is a good sign. But we should be good to make it at least till fall. We did talk to our contractor we had lined up that we awarded a bid to, and he is okay with postponing the project. Other than that, it's really the
Do you
reason.
wanna add anything to that?
Sure, I didn't hear, I guess, where Casey started, but I think he probably covered the results that we had. The findings that we found is we tested 4 spots. 2 of them came back. When you do testing, you test a lot in parts per million and parts per trillion. We don't have any results that are in any parts per million. They're actually in parts per trillion. Very low. And so everybody knows, and I don't know if Casey touched on this, but we pushed rods, obviously, from the dirt grade underneath the water down 6 feet. In them 6-foot tests, the PFAS was prevalent in the top 2 feet. We didn't have any poor results in the bottom 4 feet. So I'm not gonna try to get into details of where it came from, because we could talk about 50 million things of where it possibly came from. Now we have to start talking about what are our next steps to, instead of saying we're gonna take 20,000 cubic yards and we're gonna treat it all as PFAS contaminated soils, we need to now look at how can we narrow that down. Maybe we end up having to treat 3,000 cubic yards. Maybe it's 4,000. We don't know what that number is yet. But by being able to push the dredging and going back out and topoing the inner marina and saying, okay, we can make this work, push this off to fall. Now this gives us the ability to narrow in exactly where the issue is and how big the issue is, how far spread the issue is, and then look at trying to everything you say to the DNR right now, because this is it's very high on their radar, but they don't have the answers to any of it. Where can we put this? Well, you can haul it to a certified site and they'll take it, and okay, that's $1 million, right? Well, you can do this. More or less, you can build a mini storage dump, right? And dig a hole, put a liner in the ground, more or less make a small landfill, dump it all in there, cover it with a tarp, and when we decide what you can do with it, then haul it out again. Well, that's the bad answer.
Is the DNR flying blind because the EPA hasn't come up with,
Well, the EPA now just finally came out with something with regulations on drinking water. That would be a well thing, right?
that's the start, but that doesn't do
I truly
anything.
don't know this for sure, John, but I think you're 100% accurate. As far as
Disposal.
disposal,
Hazardous waste.
they're waiting for the EPA, I think, to lay some guidelines down, and then the DNR piggyback on what those guidelines are.
Matt, for clarification, can you just even, because I understand some of it, but just explain PFAS a little bit better to our listening audience and.
Sure.
And even just, because some of the details of exactly what it means to me are still a little foggy, so.
Totally understandable, and the way I think the best way to explain it without getting into the scientifical terms of it, if you go back 15, 20 years ago and you bought a cheeseburger at McDonald's and you got it wrapped in a piece of paper, inside that piece of paper there was like a shiny coating on that paper so your cheese didn't stick to the paper. That was actually a PFAS-backed material that they used. Surgical gowns, surgical booties, latex gloves all had a PFAS lining on them.
Not stick anything.
That is correct, so nothing would stick to it. The inside of a styrofoam coffee cup used to have a PFAS sprayed lining in it. Gore-Tex, rain gear, all had a PFAS.
Membrane.
Class B high expansion foam was a component to that foam that had PFAS in it.
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass has, I mean, if you go through your house, you probably have more things than you can think of that have a PFAS component in them than you can think. Teflon, spray on Teflon had a PFAS component to it.
So they're reading parts per trillion in Lake Michigan.
No, we're not reading it in
In the marina.
we're reading it in the soils underneath
soils in the marina.
Lake Michigan.
And it's bad.
It's
But yet we grew up eating cheeseburgers and drinking out of styrofoam and still have all the rubber stuff at home today. Okay.
It's
You
just
get-
don't want
you
the
get-
water
you-
contaminated.
Yes, you made your point.
I don't care about us. Yeah, but it's a legacy thing though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like these things just switch. There's a lot of powerful
I-
entities, right?
So is that just more informational? Or do we
it's
need to
it's
act-
more
It's
informational.
because
Everybody
we're
saw on
getting-
Facebook we're dredging in the marina. The marina's closed, and 4 days later the marina's open, and we're not doing any dredging. Well, what happened? Why are we not
And
dredging?
this allows us to also have the marina open for fishing.
And that is correct.
This also allows us to look for grants.
To try to procure some dollars to help possibly with this dredging process and what we might have to do with it.
Right.
Okay, any other questions on it? If not, then we'll move on to the Ranger Services Agreement. Street tree inventory.
Jason,
So
you
that
wanna-
is part of our, we had, in 2022, we had a urban forestry grant, which, remember, we mentioned about the tree planting program. We had a match of 23,000 odd dollars, and it's just, this is one of the things that they like to see. They're more, we can allocate the funds however we see fit, and our tree inventory is relatively old. So in order for them, this is just basically give me permission to have them go ahead and redo our whole street tree inventory. They'd get it to us in an Excel sheet. Once we get the Excel sheet, we would plug it into our GPS system or our GIS system. We could have them do it, but you'd basically double the cost. The $9,000, I think that's on there, would be the very high end of it. Our cost share portion of a lot of it comes from our wages, so it really wouldn't be any money coming out of our pocket per se. It would be with grant funding that's coming in.
What funding that's coming in? I didn't hear what you
It's
said.
the urban forestry grant.
Okay.
We applied for it in 21, got awarded it in 22, but we didn't use much of it, so we got an extension to use it for 23.
So basically what these guys are gonna do is go out and count trees.
They're gonna, basically what they do is they go out, they tell you the species of tree, the size of the tree, the health of the tree, and the location of the tree. So they get all those components together, and they also, including in this, they'll find possibly some planting locations, but I won't expect there to be a whole lot of them because this isn't any of the parks or anything. This is literally just
Street trees.
trees in the
But
tree
they're
lawn.
gonna be able to do this from the street?
Yes.
The trees being the.
They'll basically literally walk up to every tree, measure a tree, and do their
But
thing.
they're not going onto private property.
Just
Just
to make
city-
it clear,
city
just
trees.
city-owned
Just
trees.
the
Just city-owned
They're not-
trees.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
okay.
between the sidewalk and the street, city-owned trees in
Yes.
the terrace.
Do they also give you the, for the ground that the trees are there, what's best to plant there? Because I know at one
I
time.
think
you
that's a
had-
generalized thing that they have, kinda, cause we have a whole list of trees, we have, I don't know if it's probably 4 pages long of large trees, medium trees, small trees that they basically say this is good in this climate area in our soil, so we already have that component of it,
Okay.
but that's really not part of my understanding.
This is what we utilize for deciphering what is healthy, what is not, what needs to come down.
Yep,
Is that
and roughly age of some of them and kind of keep inventory, like right now, our last inventory, which has changed a little bit, or quite a bit.
So you already got the grant funding,
Yep,
you're just asking,
that's okay to
use
spend it.
the money.
Allocating where the grant funding is getting spent on.
So there's no city match on this
There's,
one?
There is,
There is.
but we can use
Our
our
labor
wages
will be the
in
city
urban
match.
forestry.
Yep, so
They-
yes, there is city match, but it'll be in kind funds, not physical dollars.
The original grant did have this inventory as a component of it, and our estimate for the cost of it was Matt's time because he was gonna work on that inventory. Except last year we had quite the huge change in staffing, and he is now administrator and public works director. There is no way he can find the time to do this inventory. So
And this is what these guys do for a living, so we'll have a very accurate description of what we have.
So
and
do we need a motion to move forward with this right out of this body or move up to the council?
Move to the council for adoption.
Well, I guess we can do it as, cause he would like to start as soon as possible.
That is,
How important is this activity to our Tree City reapplication?
Speaking of that, I know it's kinda off topic, but we did get approved for Tree City this year. I know it's all stuff that they like to look at, what have you done for it, so that actually would be a plus towards our Tree City USA.
And we have to be a tree city in order to be a bird city, so.
Yes.
correct.
Did the previous inventory that was done, did that encompass all city trees, including parks?
We had parks and all
Parks.
that stuff.
Parks and like the open spaces and like on the beach was done. The physical residential tree inventory was not done.
But you're saying that this one is only gonna be street trees, not park trees?
Yep, just
Then
street trees.
Why only?
We have a very good idea, I think, of what's in the park, because we haven't removed anything from the park, we haven't replanted anything in the park, only we removed our ash trees.
Okay.
So our inventory, the park is something we could basically look off of what we had and go at it and say, okay, well, we removed this many ash trees, so now we got this left, because we typically haven't removed anything but an ash tree in a park.
Okay. Thank you.
This is just the bulk, hardest part of it is trying to figure out what we have and what we possibly should plant, could plant.
I'd make a motion, move forward with the Ranger Services Inc. agreement as proposed. And if
I'll second it.
can we just move forward or has it gotta go to council?
No, cause you already have the grant dollars, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
This is just how we're spending those grant dollars.
Get her done.
Okay. So we're not doing any motions.
No,
We
I
did
made
a
I made a
motion.
You made
motion.
the motion, so
And
we need a
And-
second.
You seconded it.
You
Okay.
seconded it.
Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay.
Thank you, Casey.
Okay, agenda for our next meeting, if you could get that to either Matt or Aaron. Our next meeting will be April 18th, following the special council meeting when we do the reorg.
Yeah, so the next meeting is obviously Tuesday, April 18th, because that's the reorg meeting. So first we'll have the reorg meeting and go through all the committee appointments, the city financial institutions, that kind of stuff. Then after that, we'll go into the finance and personnel meeting.
At 4 yet?
We'll start at 4. if
For
that-
the reorg?
Yep.
Yes.
So this will be John and Steve's last finance meeting.
Speaking of Halloween,
And then yes,
Thank
does
you.
4 o'clock work? Does
For the
that-
reorg?
4 o'clock work for the reorg?
Okay, the next thing is motion to go in closed session.
We're looking for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, chief of police position, police officer positions, and E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, police union collective bargaining discussion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Do you need a
Roll call.
Roll call?
Swedberg,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Mehring,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Lautenbach,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Havoc.
Yes.